Previously on the Mistress of Fire. I shall take complete responsibility of this incident. Bring me the witch. She's here. My lord, the witch is coming towards you. She's using poison darts. Her Imperial Majesty shall suffer no harm from this savage. Light fades. Dark clouds gather around the mountain. A slight cold breeze swiftly turns into wind. The trees surrounding the mountain peak start swaying in unison as if it were a tribal war dance, heralding what was yet to happen. At the center of this dire stage, two powerful warriors are about to clash. A trail of dust follows the officer as he approaches rapidly his fearsome opponent. His prized short sword, darkened by the dark clouds above him, resembled as if it was an extension of the warrior's arm. Holding the sword away from him and downwards, it gave the picture of a deadly sight, eager to snuff out life of whoever that would stand on its way. A shadow with a feathery silhouette moves towards him in a ghostly manner. Hardly her feet can be seen, creating an illusion of a dreary spirit floating across the ground. Without stopping, she produces her blow dart. The officer expected as much. He further opens his posture and accompanies it with a smirk, daring the witch to stick a dart on his neck. With incredible speed and accuracy, the witch blows the dart. Noticeably bigger than the previous ones, it whistles through the wind gust across several meters, ending split into two pieces by a single masterful swing from the veteran warrior. After being cut, the dart explodes into a gas cloud, which quickly engulfs the warrior's face. He then hastily covers most of his face with the arm holding the blade, and holds his breath in order to lessen any damage caused by the poison gas. As he was pulling the reins towards the left to get away from the deadly mist, he catches a glimpse of the witch nearly passing him by. At this single moment, he was considerably livid by such sight, since if she managed to pass through him, that would mean that she would have bested him. He felt a surge of strength all over his body. While covering his face with his arm, he tightened his grip and unleashed a full-body horizontal swing, leaning forward as much as he could in order to cover the most space, drawing a perfect half-circle of death. The witch saw the very sharp side of the blade before her eyes from few centimeters away due to the sheer speed of the swing. At the last moment, she tilted her body sideways and managed to duck just in time, performing a move resembling a grounded butterfly kick. The speed at which she was moving allowed her to slide effortlessly across the field in front of her, and when she started losing speed due to the friction, she then did a quick lunge to regain her quick pace. The warrior had already started feeling the symptoms of the gas. His ears were ringing, and he felt a sharp pain on his chest whenever he would inhale. His vision was also becoming blurry. Without even taking a second to think of the odds, he grabbed his short bow from his back, picked an arrow from his side quiver, and pointed it at the witch with murderous intent. The witch perceived the danger and started turning left and right, drawing a very open S with her trail. He let the arrow fly, and it missed his target, piercing into a nearby bush. Judging the distance between the witch and the Empress, the warrior estimated that he had only time for one more arrow. He then took a deep breath, paying little attention to the shocks of electric pain coursing through his body. His mind was completely attuned to his surroundings. He then felt the wind at his back and the direction it was taking. He instinctively tilted his body to the side, pointed his arrow several inches away from the witch, stretched it all the way to his back, and released it towards her. The arrow flew high and straight for a few moments, and then slowly changed its course towards the right and downwards, matching a bird of prey's deadly swoop. The witch lifted her arm to shield herself from the arrow. A sudden spark came out, and a blunt hit was heard. The witch stumbled a few steps backwards and sideways, and fell on her back. The warrior mustered what strength had left in him to ride the horse to where she had fallen. From a meter's distance away, he could see his opponent more clearly. The witch was wearing a long, crude tribal cape made of many materials such as leather, bones, fur, dry leaves and patches of finely woven silk. Her face was concealed by a sturdy carved wooden mask with slightly oblique lines that went from top to bottom. 2 small sockets allowed her to see her surroundings. The mask was fractured around the frown lines and a small amount of blood was pouring out. Her right arm was covered by a steel gauntlet. It had a slight vertical denture on her knuckles that seemed recent. The witch suddenly rotated her body wildly. Her cape followed the direction of her movements, creating an exaggerated version of them. When the cape stopped moving, she was standing up. The warrior took a deep breath, widened his torso and back, and said, "Your tricks have taken you this far, but I'm afraid this will be ending soon." He pointed his sword at her. A short silence ensued. The warrior felt as he was being studied very closely by his opponent, but he didn't allow that feeling to overcome him. Then a dagger swung rapidly at him. The warrior was able to block it by using his trained reflexes. It was aimed at his right leg. The witch did not stop there. She continued swinging her dagger at an exceptional speed. Her footwork didn't seem to be affected by the blow taken from the arrow. She was able to move from one side of the horse to the other very easily. Many warriors would have been quickly overwhelmed by her movements, but the officer had fought warriors far from the land from which they stood, which gave him a considerable advantage. Even with the limited vision and awareness, he was capable of following her movements enough to be able to not take any damage. Counterattacking, on the other hand, was very difficult in his current state. His body felt very heavy. He had to make an outstanding effort to remain on his horse, not to mention the quick movements of his arm needed to block her attacks. He knew that he had to finish the fight before he could not move anymore. The witch, who seemed to increasingly become frustrated by not being able to pierce through the warrior's defenses, took a step forward from where she was standing while crouching and jumped very high towards the warrior, aiming at his neck with a thrust attack. The warrior deflected it, hearing the clash of their 2 blades on his left ear. At this very moment, the witch was vulnerable. She could not change the direction of her movement. The warrior leaned backwards and followed his response with a strong palmed strike to her chest. Despite the confusion that the cape might entail, he knew he landed it well since he felt the air coming out of her body. The witch went flying a meter away and fell again on her back. A strong, low-pitched sound came when she hit the ground, followed by a muffled moan. The horseman slowly rode towards her. His skin was pale and sweat was running across his face, gathering at the end of his chin. "Surrender now," said the officer. As he finished saying those words, the witch slowly raised her opened right hand towards the warrior. He let out a cackle. "Are you begging for mercy? You..." A small pillar of flame came out of the witch's hand that, while the warrior wasn't close enough to be burned, it greatly startled his horse, which drove it into a frenzy. The warrior fell from the horse and hit the ground sideways. The horse galloped away. As soon as the witch saw what had transpired, she stood up, albeit slowly than last time, and ran towards the Empress. Despite his immense desire to stand up, the warrior could only slightly budge from his current position. His body had reached its limit. He struggled to gather enough air for a few seconds, and then he let out a fierce cry. The witch was 4 meters away from the Empress. 3 meters from the Empress. 2 meters from the Empress. 1 meter from the... I hope you liked this video. If you would like me to make more videos of this kind, please leave a comment below. And also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And remember, it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, you're always welcome here.